Ahoy, mateys, and welcome to my book review of The Republic of Pirates by Colin, Woodard. I will not be able to sustain this accent for the rest of the book review. But this is The Republic of Pirates by Colin Woodard. It is a non-fiction book that follows the lives of four men, and they are three pirates who are Blackbeard, or Edward Teach, Charles Vane, and Sam Bellamy. And then the fourth man is Woodes Rogers, who was kind of the man who helped take piracy down in the Caribbean in the 1700s. So The Republic of Pirates wasn't the most captivating book I've ever read. Like, I didn't pick it up and sit down and read like the first 100 pages and really want to read more of that very instant. But it was a very interesting book to read, and I did really enjoy it. It's just sometimes I have trouble with nonfiction books getting through them, at the rate that I would a fiction book. But that's not to say that it was bad or anything. I actually really enjoyed it. It is basically about how the Spanish War of Succession in the early 1700s led to the golden age of piracy. And I loved it, I didn't know that happened. Of course, I've heard of the golden age of piracy, and obviously I've heard about pirates before, but I didn't know all the historical connections that kind of came together to make that golden age, as they call it, where pirates were kind of ruling the sea for a few years. And so that was super fascinating, and it was a bit repetitive in parts, like when the pirates were going around and taking ships, it was like they took another ship, and they took another ship. But that's what life was like back then. Like, it was a bit repetitive, and that is what they did, so I get it. But I did like that it didn't portray piracy 100% as that romanticized thing where like they were sailing the seas and they were brave people who were going on daring adventures. I was like, they were dying of heat stroke and dying of dysentery and dying of scurvy and all these crappy things, and if you didn't die during a battle because a cannonball ripped you in half or anything, if you got a sliver in yourself, you might get an infection and die from that. And so I appreciated the realism of the book a lot. I mean, I still think, in my opinion, pirates are a bit cooler than the Navy, and I will tell you why. Because, I mean, they're not cooler. Some of them are horrible people. Let me rephrase that. Yeah, some of them were horrible people. So Charles Vane, for example, was a really mean man who would be the man who would come onto your ship and take all that you had, but then torture you anyway and be like, where's the rest of your treasure? And opposed to Blackbeard, who Blackbeard would use a lot of fear to rule, and he would take people prisoners. But according to this book, he always kept his word. So he was like, if you do this for me, I will let all of you go. And he did. So that was, I thought, really good to pick two very different pirates, Charles Vane and Blackbeard, and kind of see how they worked differently during that same time period. And also Blackbeard, at one point in time, ruled like 700 men, and I totally didn't know that because I only knew that he had one ship, which is the Queen Anne's Revenge, and I never knew that he was in charge of like this whole fleet of pirate ships. And because I think I always thought before of pirates as like solo ships sailing around and terrorizing the seas, but obviously if they could capture a ship, they would take it because then they can take bigger ships or more ships. And so I was like, duh, like, of course. So, like I said, it was a really good book. Back to the whole Navy thing. So, one of the pirates that it follows is Sam Bellamy. And they found his ship, the Whydah, Whydah. And I say that because you can go see everything that they discovered from it. It is part of a museum exhibit. I saw it when it was traveling around. I don't know if it's still traveling or if it's in a certain place now. But it was very informative about how the Navy life was restrictive, and if you were like lower on the totem pole on the ship, basically your pay was absolute crap. Whereas on pirate ships, you were paid more equally, and on pirate ships, if you didn't like the captain, you could all hold a vote and get rid of that person and like leave them on an island or leave them in a port and just sail away and have a new captain. Whereas obviously in the Royal Navy, you couldn't do that. And in the Navy, you also could only own, at least according to this exhibit about the Whydah, one cup, one plate, one fork, one knife, etc. But on a pirate ship, you could own whatever you could keep. And so that was really fascinating. I I don't know if I'd still want to be a pirate because I would have a fear of being hung and being caught and like being left in prison to die for months, even though I was slated for execution. And so I don't know, like if I had lived back then and had been captured by pirates, lots of people did join the pirates and lots of people were pressed to join the pirates. So I don't know which one I would have been because, like I said, although we romanticize pirates, they seemed to have a more equal system upon their ships. I'm not saying they were all about equality or anything. Lots of them still owned slaves. Some of them would let slaves come into their crew as non-slaves, but a lot of them still did own slaves. But that being said, part of me is like, yeah, they did treat people better than the Royal Navy, but then you got Charles Vane torturing people and being a horrible piece of crap. So I don't know. My answer is if I could be a pirate back then, I don't know if I would be. But yeah. So the Republic of Pirates was really eye-opening about just pirate life in general and about how that worked and how Woodes Rogers took them down. And he himself seemed like kind of an awesome dude as well. He didn't lead the best life. He got into debt a lot. But he tried. Like, he really loved his crown and he really wanted to rid the sea of pirates because it was affecting trade and affecting people. And so he really just wanted to basically defend his country and his country's assets. And I mean, he was in a battle once where he got like part of his jaw blown off and the bullet lodged in the top of his mouth and his palate and part of his foot was blown off. And he just lived with that bullet in his mouth until he got back to England and had proper surgery. And I was like, that sounds horrible and awful and painful. So, yeah. But, so I kind of admired all the men except for Charles Vane because I really thought he was a bad person. Because they either did keep their word or they treated people correctly or they just loved their country so much that they really wanted to help. And I would definitely suggest The Republic of Pirates, even if you're not into nonfiction books. Like I said, it took me a while to read, but it was so informative and it had so many good stories within the book that I would totally suggest it. And today's question is, have I ever been on a ship? So I have. I have been whale watching, but we didn't see any whales, unfortunately, because the waters were really bad and choppy that day. Pretty much all of my, I was about to say crewmates, but like I guess all of the other tourists, except for like me, my brother, and my dad, basically got sick, which sounds horrible. And it was horrible. Like, I feel bad for them. But it also meant that we got more soup when lunchtime came. And I really liked the soup. It was really good. Pirate ship-wise, like, or Old Navy, like the store. Okay, that was funny. Like, British Navy from the 1700s wise ships, like galleons and sloops and things like that with sails and the rigging and the ropes and everything like that, I have not been on. So I've been on more modern ships, and I would love, though, to go on a pirate ship and see what it was like. Like, how dark was it down there? How stinky was it down there? You know, like all these things, because like I said, we do romanticize them a lot in films and books, but imagine just being stuck at sea on one place for months on end. I think that would drive me insane. But for like a day tour, that would be fun to go on a little ship. So, have you ever been on a ship? Let me know if you have and what it was like an old-timey like galleon with like the 5 sails and all this ridiculous rigging coming down and like the, you know, the little portholes for the cannons to come out. If you've been on a ship like that, comment down below and let me know what it was like because I really actually want to know. And thank you for listening. Once again, this was The Republic of Pirates by Colin Woodard. You all have a great day and arrgh.